Here with Clayton Sayfie at Beaver Stadium. We just watched Michigan beat Penn State. We haven't seen Michigan throw in a long time.
No,
not since the first half. If I'd have told you before the game that that's how this would go down, would you believe me?
No. I thought the run game would play better than it has. I feel like they used some of the wrinkles, not specifically that I thought they would use, but I felt like they had some stuff saved based on kind of what we had heard over the last few weeks for this game. But, the run game wasn't overly effective on a down-to-down basis, but they started to pop a couple. I would not have believed that. I was thinking coming into the game, key's going to be JJ on third and long and how effective he's been this year at that. So, no. JJ hasn't thrown a pass, like you said, in a couple hours. He did have the one pass interference that, but it didn't technically count as a pass. So not the script that I thought, but, Michigan did a good job. And then they end it with the Blake Corum touchdown.
I mean, nothing went according to script. Let's
right.
talk about the big picture here. I mean, so Sharon Moore is the acting head coach.
Yeah.
They find out as they land here in State College, like a mile over there, they find out that Jim Harbaugh is suspended.
Yeah.
They think they're going to get an injunction. That doesn't happen. So on Saturday morning, they find out, no, Sharon Moore's the coach.
Right.
And what a 24 hours.
Insane. My car ride here went by like that because we were working the whole time. And I'm sure it was obviously much crazier for those guys getting off the plane, but even crazier. So this morning they get to the stadium. Jim Harbaugh, I'm pretty sure, I don't have this confirmed, but I'm pretty sure he was in the general vicinity of where we're sitting right now in the stadium, outside waiting to come in if he gets that court filed. There were some people, starting rumors that he was on the bus. I think he might have been.
I mean, that's straight up WWE style.
Right.
Like he just waits outside the gate and then bam, they play the music. But it didn't happen. And it's not going to happen. There'll be a hearing
on
Friday. By the way, the day they're traveling to Maryland.
Oh my gosh.
That's the craziest part about all this. Can you believe just the timing of everything that's happened?
No, I can't believe that any of it's happened, let alone the timing of it. And it's insane. Jim Harbaugh, they were just talking about it in the post game, but he FaceTimed the team after. He gave a message to the team last night saying, play angry.
Yeah.
And which is something he would never say to us publicly, but sometimes you get the glimpses through the players. And I thought that was interesting. And it felt like they were doing, everyone saw the Manny Diaz video kind of making fun of the signs, and the players after all the touchdowns and everything were doing the time thing, checking their watches. So this was a passionate team. This was a team. I was down there on the field before the game, right after the news basically hit that they weren't going to have him. And they all kind of had that look in their eye. The same one we just saw Trevor Keegan with in the post game, that it was like, okay, we're going to have to do this. It's Michigan against the world.
Well, I was down there at the end of the game. It was nasty. The Penn State fans are screaming at the Michigan players. Michigan players are screaming them back. Like it was not pretty, but that's to be expected given the circumstances and the situation. How big is this win, and how big is it that they did it the way they did it?
Yeah. So now you silence some of the doubters, and they've used a lot of this as fuel, not just this stuff, but the run game. You haven't played anybody, that sort of thing. Now they've played a good team, a really good team. Now they've been able to run the ball effectively, and it feels like they got a little bit of confidence there. And also now you're just 10-0 for the second straight year. You're likely, unless you blow it at Maryland, they're going to get their 1,000th win next week at Maryland likely. And then you go into the Ohio State game undefeated for a second straight year. Feel like the class of the Big Ten, that's kind of what Michigan's been the last few years. And now they have done that again, heading into the Ohio State game. So it's massive for this program to be in this spot. And it does speak to how prepared they were for the chaos. I was just thinking about this as I was walking up here. Ben Herbert, the strength coach of this team, has these guys so dialed in. They talk about it where they'll get a text. It's like, workout 6 a.m. tomorrow. The night before. All right, they're all there. They're ready to go. Some of them have to jump in the cold tub before their workout and do the entire workout, sopping wet and freezing cold, and they're fine with it. They're kind of ready for when this stuff happens. Sudden change is what they refer to. And, I mean, we just saw it today.
Well, this is, again, one of the weirdest seasons ever. It started with Michigan imposing a 3-game suspension on Jim Harbaugh for the other NCAA investigation, which allowed them to practice with Mike Hart as a head coach, with Sharon Moore as a head coach. Like, as weird as it sounds, how much did that help them today?
I think it helped them because you kind of had that under your belt. And then we even saw it. So, like, Jesse Minter felt like the head coach of the defense today.
And Sharon Moore said that. He said Jesse could use the timeouts. Because remember, Sharon's got to call the plays. That's what I was kind of wondering is, would they go Mike Hart
to
let the play callers be play callers? But instead they go with Sharon Moore, who I think is probably, if you asked everybody, if Jim Harbaugh were to go to the NFL who on this staff would be the head coach would be Sharon Moore.
Sure. For sure. But then even it was Mike Hart calling the timeouts when there were a few clunky moments, right? A couple penalties and then those timeouts they had to take. And it's a loud crowd, so you got to give them credit for that too. But it was Mike Hart doing that. So like Sharon just talked to us about, it was a team effort for them. He was emotional after the game as well. I think this meant a lot for him personally. He's been through a lot here at Michigan, and it was kind of that all coming together in this game. And now they're back with Jim Harbaugh right now, probably at the hotel.
Yeah. Well, they're probably on the plane. Yeah. I don't think they're back at the hotel.
That's true.
The airport is a mile from here.
Harbaugh probably had to get an extra night, right? So he could stay there during the day.
Yeah. Can you imagine like him going to the desk? No. So I need to get the extra night.
His wife called. There's no way he did it.
There's like 7 ops guys who handle that, but I just want to picture Jim Harbaugh standing at the desk going
in full garb.
Exactly. I'm gonna need this extra night. Can I get something with a couple TVs in case I want to watch another game? I don't know how this was gonna go.
And he has the YouTube TV at home now, as he calls it, so he doesn't know how to use. I mean,
could he do the 4-box?
I think he does the 4-box. He was amazed by that. I don't know if you saw his presser a few weeks ago, but he's starting to learn kind of how to figure all this out. So
okay. Is he going to need it next week is the question. Because there's a hearing on Friday. Everybody thought that injunction would be granted today. It was not. Is it a guarantee slam dunk that it gets granted next week?
I'm well-versed in all the various lawyerings, as Charlie Kelly would say from It's Always Sunny. I mean, so we were having dinner with a lawyer who's a subscriber of the Wolverine last night.
No, a Michigan grad who went to law school?
Exactly. So, and also a lot of judges that are Michigan grads in the area.
Next thing you know, people will be using stuff people write on Michigan message boards in actual legal filings.
Allegedly. But everyone was confident. Everyone I talked to, texting a couple different friends who are lawyers and whatever, and they were confident they were going to get this. This hit so close to the game that like I haven't been able to actually read and figure out what this hearing on Friday is going to be and what happened to force that. So it's anyone's guess.
Well, I think it's hundreds of pages that this judge has to go through between what Michigan filed and then what the NCAA, what the Big Ten, and the by
219, I saw.
Right, that was Michigan filed, and then the Big Ten's got a bunch of PDFs that obviously this judge is going to have to go through and read as well. So it is very interesting, and probably was a lot of pressure to do in a couple hours. And if you are a judge, you probably do not want to be forced into that sort of decision that quickly.
Yeah, and Tim Connors was the judge, and then it was like, oh no, it's this Carol Kunke or something like that. Both Michigan guys.
Carol, by the way, was the judge in Connor Stallions versus the HOA
for a vacuum cleaner business, which is just
vacuum cleaner repair.
The fact that I'm even saying the word vacuum.
Very poor Amazon reviews. I again. None of this stuff is.
And Blake Corum was on the LLC.
Right. If we had written this out before the season and said, here's what's going to happen, no one would have believed any of this.
No one knew who Connor Stallions was. We did, covering the team. Like you just knew, okay, it's an analyst. I'd met him a couple times. Connor Stallions is like the most well-known guy now in college football.
It is wild. This whole situation. And the fact that they came in here and threw the ball 8 times.
I'm going to look up when the last time they threw. I think it was only 60 yards. Is that right? I was on the field against people watching. I don't know any of the stats, but that one, 7 of 8.
I'm curious, you being on the field, because we were keeping track. Yeah. And I know the TV broadcast was also keeping track of how many consecutive runs.
Sure.
And they tried to throw a couple times. There was one play there where they were going to throw a little swing pass, but then they had to call timeout because the play clock was running out. Then there was another, the PI. So officially, I believe it was 32 consecutive runs. So. But on the field, did it feel that way? Did it?
Kind of. I wouldn't have guessed 32 in a row. I would have thought maybe there was one sprinkled in because those times, sometimes you forget a play here or there. But I was saying to guys down there that I was watching the game next to, like, okay, they're playing it really conservative here. And that second to last drive that counted, I think it was, when they ran on that 3rd and long, JJ was a little hurt, so I don't think they wanted to put him in a tough spot. Maybe he makes a mistake. That was the worst thing you could have done. But I was like, okay, they're playing this very conservative. But then it kind of paid off where, as Sharon said, those 3, 4 yard, 2 yard runs, a lot of them on first down, turned into the bigger ones.
I'm not sure how conservative it was. I think it was just really Sharon Moore countering what Penn State was doing, because Penn State was if you
would have a better view.
Right. If they had 3rd and medium or 3rd and long, Penn State was going to heat up JJ.
Yeah.
But they were trying to bring it all up the middle. And what it did is it allowed Michigan to on the edge seal those edge players. Right. And they got 3 or 4 first downs just sealing edge players running to the wide side of the field
Right.
because Penn State was concentrating so much pass rush up the middle, thinking it was going to be a throwing situation, and it wasn't. And there was one where it was a called pass, and JJ boots out and winds up running for the first down. He gained 9 yards, I think, on a 3rd and 2.
Yeah,
and that got him a field goal, which it doesn't sound like much when you think about how the game ended. It was huge at the time.
massive. Yeah, because for the majority of the second half, it was an 8-point game.
It was an 8-point game, yeah.
James
it would have
Franklin.
been a 5-point game,
yeah,
if not for that field goal.
Exactly. But James Franklin, couple questionable. I thought going for 2 really on either, because then he doesn't get the second one. They're down 9. What are your thoughts?
Well, but it doesn't get the second. The second one, you're delaying inevitability. Because
you had to
kick
do it at
extra
some
point,
point,
you're going to have to get a 2-point. The first one was a little bit because I
Chase
think
the
it
points up
changed
too
the
early,
way
yeah.
you call the rest of the game.
Agreed.
And I think it was interesting. I don't know if you picked this up on the field. The grumbling, the audible grumbling from the Penn State crowd starting in the first quarter.
Yes.
As they disagreed with various decision making.
I wrote down a note also late in the game too, when it was second down, pass to the sideline, broken up, and then they don't get the third. But going into that third down, completely silent. No one in this building had any confidence in that Penn State offense.
Yeah.
And credit the Michigan defense too for doing what they did. But it's kind of
Drew Aller throws to no one.
Drew Aller throws to no one. That was the third down.
Yeah. And the crowd was already. I was coming down to get on the field for the last 5 minutes. We were shocked at how much of the Penn State crowd was leaving.
Gone.
With 6 minutes to go.
Yep.
And then once that happened, they were gone.
They were filing out. Yeah. And I've been to every game this year, Michigan on the road. I think 4th road game, every single game. And they take a lot of pleasure in this. They talk about it. The Michigan fans start coming down closer and closer. The Let's Go Blues are going. I mean, they have emptied out stadiums like this over the last 3 years. 10 straight road games now for the first time since the 1940s.
Yeah. Well, they finished this last one with a couple of chants. They went free Jim Harbaugh. That was one of the chants.
Yep.
The last chant, the last word of it was Ohio. It was a 2-word chant, and the last word was Ohio.
That was routine.
I'm assuming that happens every game. So, but I mean, Clayton, I'm gonna give you license here because we're gonna use our imaginations because anything we could have imagined would not have been as strange as what's actually happened.
No.
So let's imagine what happens over the next week.
What happens over the next week is, I mean, I think now that it's in the court's hands a little bit, I think it's going to be quiet, maybe. But also, I've said that, and then there's like some bombshell report. That
Michigan sued the Big Ten yesterday.
And Ward Manuel's statement right before the game was like scorched earth.
If you've ever talked to Ward Manuel, if you ever heard Ward Manuel speak, the idea of him committing that statement to writing.
Yes.
Like sending it out as an email to everyone on Michigan's email listserv.
I was surprised.
It is a massive step, and it says that Michigan is just done with this.
This is big picture, and it's something that we started to talk about over at the Wolverine or whatever. But the questions going into the year about Jim Harbaugh, what's he going to do? He's under this first NCAA investigation. Weirdly, this entire situation has put everybody on the same page at Michigan, from President Santaono to the regents. A couple of them I saw down on the field celebrating, going crazy. Athletic Director Ward Manuel. There's always been a little bit of tension between Manuel and Harbaugh, and Harbaugh now and the rest of the staff. It's weirdly aligned everybody. We'll see what comes of all this NCAA stuff. But when it's said and done, would it shock me if this is kind of something that galvanized the entire university? No.
Well, and Santaono with the bet tweet, because he
had to get in on
that
it.
Came from the players. Trevor Keegan, the offensive lineman, explained the whole situation, that they were joking about it at dinner, and then Chris Jenkins, I think, was the one who broke the seal on it. And of course, the president of the university gets in on it.
He gets on all of it. I mean, he's visible. I was talking about the basketball game the other night. Chris Jenkins, thank God I still have tweet notifications on for him for when he came back from the NFL last year. I saw that, and then I saw a couple others, and this team, it feels like they're really together and kind of rallying.
He was starting a movement. No, and the thing is with Michigan, the way they're handling this, I think if you've watched a lot of these cases, and this is obviously different because it's the conference involved. But if you watch the NCAA case with Kansas, if you watch North Carolina, I think these schools are looking at it and going, okay, well, nothing bad happened to them.
Fight like hell.
Yeah, why not fight like hell? Why not? It's common sense at this point because you've seen it work for other people now.
Right. And I think part of it too, like I don't know how Michigan would have fought this if the Big Ten didn't step in. But now that the Big Ten has come in and kind of pissed them off and been like, we're not going to give you the due process that they're asking for, they're going to suspend Jim Harbaugh right away. Now they're fighting. And then I think once it's like all the attention right now is on the Big Ten. Once it's back to the actual NCAA case, they're going to continue to fight, and we'll see the result.
The NCAA case is a different animal.
It is
because
it's two completely separate
they
things.
have that they have it in writing that the head coach is responsible for everything that happens.
Yes.
So it doesn't even matter if he knew.
True.
Like the NCAA case, I think probably goes a little differently.
Mm-hmm.
This is different because the Big Ten, the bylaws are vaguely written because nobody ever thought anything like this would happen. So it's going to be, and none of us thought any of this would ever happen.
We thought it'd be the mascot getting in a fight. I heard you say that the other day.
Well, I thought back to remember when the Ohio U mascot went a little nuts and Brutus had to.
Oh, maybe
he came out and tried to smash Brutus Buckeye, and I mean, I thought Brutus could have defended himself a little better, but Purdue Pete would have never. Sparty wouldn't have let that happen. So, but it's funny because mascots are mentioned in those bylaws.
Right,
so.
They're not mentioned for this.
Yeah, this is not was not prepared for. So, Clayton Sayfie, have a safe trip home. Thank you so much.
You too. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for watching. Just a reminder, subscribe to this channel right here so you never miss an episode of Andy Staples on 3. And oh, by the way, watch all the other great videos on the On3 Sports YouTube channel.